Greetings, and welcome to Chaim's weekly podcast, recorded live in Richardson, Texas. We invite you now to join us for one of our synagogue's Shabbat messages.
Shabbat Shalom. I want to welcome everybody this morning. I want to, in particular, welcome two people here who have returned to us from the land of the north, from Germany. Andrea is back. And so thank you. It's great to see you. And I want to give a special welcome to Vladimir Pickman. He's the head of Chosen People Ministries in Europe, who's headquartered in Berlin. And Vladimir and his wife Ina and his daughters Shoshana and Elizabeth will be with us here for the coming year. He has been appointed as a scholar in residence at Dallas Theological Seminary. So he'll be here for the year as our scholar, and finishing up his PhD, I understand, his thesis, and being a vibrant part of Chaim as he was in the past. And he is a member here, and for 3 years while he was getting his master's, he was with us, and we're delighted to have you back for another year, Vladimir. So Berlin's loss is our gain. Amen, amen. Well, as we prepare our souls for the High Holy Days coming up, during this month of Elul, I want us to look today at the nature of true biblical faith, saving faith, faith that transforms you. And I'd like us to examine this by looking at a particular story of Yeshua healing a royal official's son in Yochanan chapter 4, John 4. So turn with me, if you will, to John chapter 4, and we have it on the overhead as well. And the text says this: Once more Yeshua visited Cana in Galilee, where he turned the water into wine. And there was a certain royal official whose son lay sick at Capernaum. When this man heard that Yeshua had arrived in Galilee from Judea, he went to him and begged him to come and heal his son, who was close to death. Unless you people see signs and wonders, Yeshua told him, you'll never believe. The royal official said, Sir, come down before my child dies. Go, Yeshua replied, your son will live. The man took Yeshua at his word and departed. While he was still on his way, his servants met him with the news that the boy was living. When he inquired as to the time when his son got better, they said to him, yesterday, 1 p.m., the fever left him. Then the father realized this was the exact time at which Yeshua had said to him, your son will live. So he and his whole household believed. This was the second sign Yeshua performed after coming from Judea to Galilee. John, in his gospel, records 7 special signs that Yeshua performed in his ministry. He calls the miracles of Yeshua, he calls them signs. He focuses on these 7 particular miracles among thousands that Yeshua performed, because they not only show Yeshua's power, but they also teach us key gospel truths. A sign is a symbol. It points to something. It's easy to know what the Gospel of John is about because he tells us, he gives us the theme of the whole book towards the end in John chapter 20, verse 30, where John says this: Yeshua performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book, but these are written down that you may believe that Yeshua is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. Now right there he lays out his 2 main themes. John says Yeshua's miracles are recorded to provoke belief, provoke faith, and that by your faith, you might have life in his name. The 2 themes are faith and eternal life. John says he details Yeshua's miraculous signs in order to provoke faith, and that the faith may bring eternal life. The story here in John 4 of healing of the royal official's son, the second of the 7 signs that John records, is intended to teach us about the nature of true saving faith. You see, faith in our society is a very general word, right? People say all the time, oh, just have faith. And sometimes faith is simply a reference to a temperament. Some people are naturally skeptical. Some people are naturally trusting. But that's not what the Bible is talking about as true biblical saving faith. Faith that brings eternal life. Saving faith, life-giving faith is for everybody. Not just for people who naturally have a trusting temperament. I know people who say, oh, I wish I had his faith. I wish I had her faith. As if faith is some kind of talent, like some people can sing and some can't. And by the way, you know who you are. I'm one of the ones that can't. And so they think that faith is something like that. That some people have faith and some don't. But that's not what the Bible is talking about. That's not saving faith. There is no believing type. There's no particular type of person that becomes a Yeshua follower. Saving faith that brings you eternal life, is for everyone. In this passage, we learn 5 things about saving faith. We're going to put the first one on the overhead, if you will. Number 1 is this: life-giving faith starts with reason. It involves your thinking. It involves your rationality. You mustn't pitch faith against reason. You don't say, well, there's reason and then there's faith. No, faith starts with reason. Look at John 4, verse 47. When the man heard Yeshua had arrived in Galilee from Judea, he went to him and he begged him to come and heal his son who was close to death. Now, why would he do this? This guy didn't know Yeshua. Why would he come up to him like this? Because he had heard the reports. In fact, in the verse before our passage, in verse 45, it says this, John 4:45. It says, when Yeshua arrived in Galilee, the Galileans welcomed him. They had seen all that he had done in Jerusalem at Passover, for they also had been there. Yeshua had just done all these amazing miracles in Jerusalem at Pesach. And because Pesach is one of the 3 pilgrimage festivals, when all the Jewish males were required to go up to the temple to celebrate the feast, many of the Galileans had been there and had seen the miracles firsthand. And they came back home now and told everybody about it, and they spread the news. So Yeshua is famous. This royal official would not have come to him for this miracle unless he had heard the reports and considered them and believed them. Now, maybe some of his friends actually who he trusted implicitly, some of his best friends, maybe they came back and they said, we saw him with my own eyes. We saw these miracles. But the point is, this man starts with thinking. You see, most of the things you believe, you really don't have a first-hand account of. Most of the things you believe, you accept on the authority of other people's reports. Historians tell you things that have happened. Scientists tell you things that have happened. You read books, you have teachers, you've trusted them. Some you have, some you haven't. But most of the views of things come to you from reports. And you sift through these reports with your reason, and you decide which ones to believe and which ones not to believe. This man had heard these reports, not second-hand or third-hand or fourth-hand, probably first-hand reports. So he comes. He's got reason to believe that Yeshua has the power to do these miracles. However, although faith starts with reason, it must go beyond reason to real trust. Reason cannot take you all the way home. Reason is the beginning, but eventually you have to go on beyond reason to real faith. You have to have trust. You have to believe it, and you have to act upon it. So it's not less than reason, but it's more than reason. Now, I can hear some of you out here who maybe are a bit skeptical. You say, aha, I knew it. You can't prove it, can you? You can't prove the gospel. You can't prove the resurrection. You can't even prove there's a God, can you? And I'm not going to believe unless you would give me 100% airtight, waterproof argument and prove that it's true. Well, I've got 3 things to say to you. Number 1, just remember, ultimately, you can't prove anything at all. Haven't you seen The Matrix? Everything you experience, it could all be one illusion, right? Created by computers stimulating your neurons. All the world's great philosophers say the same thing. In the end, you can't really prove anything. You have to take it on faith that your 5 senses are trustworthy, they're telling you what's really out there, and that your memory is valid and is real. There's no way to really prove that your memory really works, and that you're not, for example, just stuck in some vat with artificial pre-programmed memories that never really happened. You can't prove your memory's reliable without relying on the very memory you're trying to prove about it. So it's circular. So ultimately, you can't prove anything 100%. Everything you believe and you live by, you've got to take on some measure of faith. So our skeptics out there say, okay, David, yes, inherently there's some mild level of uncertainty in everything in our lives. But inside that mild uncertainty, aren't there some things you can prove 100%? And my second response to my skeptic is, yes, of course, there are some things you can prove 100%, but nothing important. Nothing important can really be proven that way. So for example, let's take a random fact. Let's say, can you prove to me there are 212 species of fish in Lake Erie? Well, yes. If you really wanted to, you could test that theory out, and you could either prove or disprove it. But none of the really important things in life can be completely proven. For example, you can't prove 100% that the person you're dating is the right person for you to marry. You can check out his or her references. You can speak to his or her friends. You can her family, their employers, their coworkers, their classmates, their pastor, their rabbi. You can use your reason, but in the end, you've got to take it on some level of faith. You can start with reason, but in the end, who you marry is a leap of faith. Here's another one. Every one of you have moral convictions. Everything you're sure is right and sure is wrong, you can't 100% prove. You can't definitively prove any of your moral convictions. You have reasons for them, of course, but in the end, it's a matter of faith. So you say, I won't believe in God or Yeshua or the gospel unless you can prove it 100%. That's disingenuous. Because in no other area of your life do you operate like that. You base your life on all kinds of things you can't prove. So why single out God and Yeshua and the gospel? One more thing. When people say you can't prove God exists, and I'm not going to believe in him until you can prove it, Blaise Pascal, this great 17th century French philosopher and mathematician, he said this. He said, yeah, it's true, you can't prove the existence of God philosophically. But you can't prove there's no God either. Which means you can only live one of two ways. You can either live as if there is no God, and there might be, or you can live as if God does exist, and he might not. But either way, you're risking your whole life on this belief. You're betting your whole life on something you can't prove. Which means that either way, you are living by faith. Except that believers admit they're living by faith, and the skeptics and the cynics refuse to admit it. So the unbelievers are the ones who are being intellectually dishonest. It's just not honest. So you need to realize that in no other area of your life you demand this kind of proof. Not in the big areas. So number one, faith starts with rationality. But it's so important for you to see this, to see that it actually starts with your reason. I've spoken to people in the past who've never used their brain. So I say, are you a believer? I ask them, are you a Yeshua follower? They say, sure, I'm a believer. Well, why are you a believer? Well, I was raised as a believer in Messiah. Okay, but why do you believe? Oh, because my family's Christian, or my family's Messianic. Well, and then that's who we are. I'm a Christian, or I'm a Messianic. So you've never engaged your mind? You've never thought it out? You never decided whether or not it's really true? You know, at some point in your life, the gospel is not going to seem true. Bad things are going to happen to you. And at that point, if your mind's not been engaged, your faith will be blown away. So to think that Yeshua faith is not at least partially rational is a mistake. But it's also a mistake to say, unless you could prove it to me, I won't believe. So faith, number one, involves reason and engages your rationality. Number two, we'll put this on the PowerPoint. Number two, life-giving faith must move beyond reason to trust. And this is the heart of the passage here in John chapter 4. That's what Yeshua is doing here with this guy. Let's look at how he engages this royal official. This man is desperate. He runs up to Yeshua. He begs him to come and heal his son who's close to death. This guy's really desperate. Look at what he says in verse 49. He says, Sir, come down before my child dies. The word here used for child is the word paidion. It's a diminutive word. It's a word of endearment. He's saying, please come before my little one. My dear one dies. He's in agony. So here's his father. He's in agony. He says, come heal my little boy. Come heal my dear little son. What does Yeshua say? Look at verse 48. You people want to see all these signs and miracles. Unless you do, you won't believe. Wow. Kind of harsh response from Yeshua, isn't it? Do you realize how often when people ask Yeshua something, he gives them a response that seems really inappropriate or enigmatic? So, for example, look at John chapter 2, the wedding at Cana. The bride and the groom, they run out of wine at the wedding. Miriam, Yeshua's mother, comes up to him and says, son, they've run out of wine. Remember what Yeshua says? Look at John 2, verse 4. He says, woman, why do you involve me? It's not my hour to die. Huh? Come again? What are you talking about, Yeshua? Or how about Mark chapter 7? There's the Syrophoenician woman, a Gentile woman, comes to Yeshua, begs him to deliver her demon-possessed daughter. You know what he says? He says, I was sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Why should I help you, a Gentile? Except that's not really the way he words it. It's even worse the way he words it. Look at Mark 7, verse 27. He says, it's not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs. Sometimes people come to Yeshua with perfectly natural requests, and at first he puts them off. Why? Why does he put them off? The answer is love. It's always this. That's always what he's doing. He's doing it always out of love. And he's always doing it because that is what is necessary to reach that person. Let's look at it here in our chapter, our passage, John 4. The royal official, he's really got no idea who Yeshua is. You know, in Matthew 8, there's a similar story about a Roman centurion who's a great man. The centurion also asked Yeshua to come to his home and heal someone, his servant. But he says to Yeshua, look at Matthew 8, verse 8. Lord, I'm not even worthy for you to come under my roof. The centurion knows who Yeshua is. Or at least he's got some good idea. But there's no indication here in John 4 that this royal official knows who Yeshua is. Why? Well, because this man just heard stories. That's why he said stories that Yeshua does all these miracles. That's all. So all this guy knows is that this guy Yeshua, he's Gandalf. Right? He's the great wizard of Lord of the Rings. Or he's Miracle Max from The Princess Bride. All he knows is this guy Yeshua can do miracles. But at this point, he's got no sense yet of who Yeshua really is. And if he thinks that Yeshua is just some kind of conduit of magic, of magical power, then this man has no real faith yet in Yeshua himself. And here's the point. Yeshua doesn't want to just heal his son's physical problems. He doesn't just want to heal his son physically. He wants to heal his whole family spiritually. And the only way the father and the family will be healed spiritually, have their souls healed, as well as the boy's body, is if this man can go beyond the magic to who Yeshua really is. And so Yeshua is trying to draw the man out. And that's why he's seemingly very harsh to him at first. Look how Yeshua challenges him twice. The first time, he kind of puts him off. He says, unless you people see signs and wonders, you won't believe. You're just after the supernatural, Yeshua was saying. You're not really after me. Fortunately, this man does not respond the way that you and I would respond. And the typical modern American response would be, I don't need this. Forget it. Forget you, Yeshua. But instead, the guy is very courteous. He is doggedly, persistently pushing into Yeshua. He says, sir, please come down before my boy dies. He's not put off. He's a lot like Jacob, wrestling with the man, and won't let go until he gets the blessing. So he's not easily put off. He calls out to Yeshua. Yeshua gives him the strange, kind of harsh answer. He calls out again a second time to Yeshua. Sir, come down before my child dies. And this time, what does Yeshua say? Look at verse 50. Go, your son will live. And when we first see that, what do we think? Because we know a lot more than this guy knows, right? We say, wow, that is a great response Yeshua gives him. He's healing his son. But no, this is not a good response for this guy. This is a terrible response from this guy's perspective. This is the worst test. This is a harder test than the first response. Do you want to know why? This man says, please come down with me to my home and heal me. Why? Because he knows that all magicians, all the prophets of the Old Testament, everyone who knows anything about miracles, the way they've always been done, is the person who's performing the miracle had to be there in person and physically perform the miracle right there in person. The greatest miracle workers in the Tanakh were Elijah and Elisha. But even they, who did all these amazing miracles, even they had to physically be there. They had to say something. They had to do something in person. They had to put their staff on the man's face, or stretch out their body on the boy's dead body, or pray over the cruse of oil. They had to actually be there. But Yeshua is now making a claim that must have been absolutely astounding to this guy. He's saying, I'm not going to go with you. I can heal with my word. Up till now, there is no one in redemptive history who had the ability to do that. To heal from a distance. To heal with a word. Do you realize how godlike that is? Amen. You see, here's how you and I work. We say, let there be a house. And we have to go out and build the house. Or pay someone like Shane to do it. But God can say, Vayehi or, Yehi or, let there be light, and there is light. God's word and his deed are the same thing. Because his word is a word of power. And so for Yeshua to claim this kind of divine power, this godlike power, is to say, I want you to trust me. I'm not going with you. I can heal with a word. This would have been a huge test for this guy. Because this guy was really thinking, if this Yeshua can't do this astounding thing that he says he can do, unless this Yeshua really has this kind of power that no one else has ever had before in all of history, then my son's a goner. Am I going to trust my son's life to this guy's incredible claim? And the answer is yes, he does. And the next verse is the key verse of the whole passage. John 4, verse 50. The man took Yeshua at his word and departed. Now this is just the beginning. He may not completely believe yet, but he's on his way. And here's what Yeshua has done. Yeshua is moving this man from mere intellectual, rational belief in his power to a personal trust. He's no longer just seeing Yeshua as some kind of miracle worker, but as the Messiah. He no longer isn't just talking about Yeshua. He's no longer just believing about Yeshua. He's believing Yeshua. And he's moving now to life-giving faith. Because the difference between life-giving faith and mere intellectual assent is actually trusting your life. In the late 19th century, there was a famous tightrope walker named Charles Blondin, this French tightrope walker. He was world famous for walking over Niagara Falls on a tightrope. He did these amazing things. We're going to put on the overhead 5 things that he did. Here's 5 things he did. Number 1, he walked across Niagara Falls on a tightrope blindfolded. Number 2, he walked across pushing a wheelbarrow loaded with weight. Number 3, he walked across with his manager on his back. Number 4, one time he walked across, midway he sat down on the tightrope, pulled out a little oven and an egg, cooked an egg, made an omelet, and ate the omelet. He's number 5. One time he went out with a chair to stand on it. Now maybe you've seen acrobats from time to time balance a chair on only 2 legs to support the chair. He didn't put 2 legs on the tightrope and then get up on the chair. He somehow balanced 1 leg of the chair on the tightrope, and then he got up on top of the chair over Niagara Falls. Incredible! I can't even imagine how anyone could do that. So thousands and thousands of people saw him in person perform these miracles, these great feats. They said, there's nobody like this guy. He's incredible. He's amazing. I've seen it with my own eyes. So one time he walks over to the crowd with his wheelbarrow. He says, now you just saw me walk across the Niagara Falls with 200 pounds of weight in this wheelbarrow. Right? Yes, yes. Do you believe that I could take a human being across in this wheelbarrow? Everyone said, yes, of course you can. Are you really sure? Absolutely, no doubt, you can do it. Okay, who will get in the wheelbarrow with me? All of a sudden, no. No one would agree to let Charles Blondin carry them over Niagara Falls in a wheelbarrow. No volunteers. Why? Because it's one thing to believe and be completely rationally convinced. To know intellectually, yes, he can do it. But it's another whole thing to trust your life to it. And that's the difference between being a nominal Christian or a nominal Messianic Jew, a person who believes intellectually, maybe even 100% convinced of the truth claims of the Bible, and someone who has life-giving, saving faith, who actively trusts in Yeshua and acts on their trust and acts in their life, knowing that it's real, and it radically affects how they live, and it totally changes and transforms their life. So ask yourself today, am I truly trusting my life to Yeshua? Do I take up my cross daily and die to myself and follow and obey him, even to my own hurt, even against my own self-interest? For example, do you say, yes, I believe in Yeshua, and I believe in the gospel, and I believe in the Bible, I'm completely convinced of it, yet do you live as if money is your top priority and your goal in life? Money drives you. Money is what worries you. It preoccupies you. It consumes all your thoughts, which means you intellectually believe in Messiah. but you trust in money. Your life is being entrusted to money. Or maybe it's not money. Maybe for you it's another god, another idol. I remember talking to a guy a couple of years ago who had totally blown up his life because he had done some things in secret that he thought would never come out. And he said to me, I'm a believer. I'm a Yeshua follower. And so I asked him, okay, if you were a believer, didn't you know that God could see you? I mean, no matter how secret you think you're doing these things, if you believe in God, don't you know that He can see you when you're doing them? And the point is, there was no connection. There was no connection between his beliefs and how he lived his life. In essence, he was saying, I believe in a God who sees me, but I don't connect it to the way I actually live my life. Well, I believe that Yeshua is my Lord and my Savior, but I live as if money is my main goal or priority in life, which means you do not have eternal life. Because eternal life comes when you don't just believe with your mind, but you actually entrust your life to who you say you believe Yeshua is. You actually rest your life in Him. You actually get in the wheelbarrow. The classical reformers, they said biblical faith has three parts to it. We'll put on the overhead here. They called it in Latin, they called it notitia, a sensus, and fiducia. Notitia is just the knowledge of the facts of the Bible. A sensus means you believe in that knowledge. You assent to it. That's the rational part of your faith. You see certain things about Yeshua and you believe them. You believe He said what He said. You believe He did what He did. You believe He is who the Bible says He is. But the third part, the most important part, is fiducia, trust. It means you entrust your life to Him. You act as if it's true, because it is. You totally and fully commit your life to Him. And so that the way you live depends upon the gospel being true. It depends upon it. Do you live that way? Do you live like that? That is life-giving faith. Yeshua says, I want you to trust your whole life to me. I'm claiming to have this ultimate power, this ultimate life-giving power, and I'm claiming to have this infinite love for you. And I want you now to act upon that. And this royal official in our passage here in John chapter 4, he did. He took Yeshua at His word and he departs for home. And his son is healed. And of course, there are stages here. At first he finds out his son is healed. Then he finds out it happened at the exact moment Yeshua spoke to him about it. And this propels him all the way to true life-giving faith. Look at verse 53. The father realized that his healing was at the exact time at which Yeshua said to him, your son will live. So he and his whole household believed. Yeshua all along is engaging this guy in a process, pushing him beyond mere rational assent, beyond even a firm belief that he's the Messiah, to actual life-giving, saving, life-changing, life-transforming, personal faith. Three other points about faith. Number one, we'll put this in the overhead. Number three is this. Life-giving faith grows beautiful and pure where gold grows beautiful and pure. In the furnace. Yeshua deliberately is making it hard for this guy. The man wanted an immediate response. Yeshua puts off his response, even speaks harshly to him. The man begs Yeshua to go with him. Yeshua says what? He says no. Yeshua could have easily gone with him. It would have been so reassuring. All he had to do was say, sure, I'll come with you. And the guy would have been so encouraged and so relieved. But instead, he refuses. If you walk this distance from Cana back to Capernaum, it's about 20 miles. This man now has to make this 20-mile walk home alone. That was probably the longest walk this man ever took. Yeshua could have gone with him and lightened his heart, but he doesn't. Why? In the Chronicles of Narnia, the first book of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the children from our world find that the king of Narnia is a lion. And they say, oh no, a lion! We'll put this on the overhead, Jerry. That's frightening. Is he safe? And their friend, Mr. Beaver, says, safe? Who said anything about being safe? Of course he's not safe. But he's good. He's the king, I tell you. That is Yeshua. He is the king. He is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And he is unpredictable. And he is uncontrollable. He is not a tame lion. But he's incredibly good. But he's also in no way safe. Because he's the wonderful counselor. And as the wonderful counselor, he knows when you need a slap in the face. And he knows when you need a hug. He knows when you need smelling salts. He knows when you need a kiss. He knows when you need reassurance, which he easily could have done here. And he knows when you need to take an incredibly long walk alone, feeling absolutely sick in your stomach. And Yeshua knows this is the only way for this guy to come to faith. And so he does it. Don't think you know what is best for you. You don't. Life-giving faith grows strong and pure and beautiful in the same place that gold does, in the furnace. Number 4, life-giving faith saves by its object, not by its quality. This is so comforting. When this man turns away to go home, do you think he was filled with high spirits? The text says, yes, he took Yeshua at his word and he departed. But do you think he skipped home all the way? Proclaiming confidently, I know my son will live. I have no doubt. I am claiming my son's healing in Yeshua's name. Do you think he talked like that? No, I doubt it. He probably went back in fear and trembling. And yet, this is the faith that led him to eternal life. And here's why. It's the object of your faith, not the quality or the strength of your faith that saves you. So for example, if I got a chair, it's a lousy chair, it's a weak chair, but I have faith in it and I say, I know this chair can hold me up. But I sit on it, boom, it falls apart. Now let's say I've got an incredibly strong, sturdy chair. And I say, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure it can hold me up, I just don't know. But I sit on it and it's fine, it holds me up. You see, whether I sit or whether I fall doesn't depend on the strength of my faith. It depends on the strength of the object of my faith. In this case, the chair. So I might be filled with fears and doubts, but how much faith do I need in this chair for it to hold me up? Just enough faith to sit down on it. How much faith did this guy need in order for him to obtain eternal life? Just enough to go home and believe Yeshua's word. Just enough to do what Yeshua said. He could have all kinds of doubts and fears, but he needs just enough faith to act on and to obey Yeshua's word. Do you see how comforting this is? You're not saved by the incredible strength and quality of your faith. You don't need perfect faith to be saved. But you do need a faith that connects you to Yeshua. You are saved by the object that you place your faith in, Yeshua. It wasn't the man's faith that saved his son. It was Yeshua's power that saved his son, and the man's faith connected to that power. How much faith did he need? Just enough to do what Yeshua said. In Mark 9, man comes to Yeshua to heal his son. He says to him this in Mark 9:22. He says, if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. If you can, said Yeshua, everything's possible for one who believes. Immediately the boy's father exclaimed, I believe. Help my unbelief. And Yeshua heals his son. This means only when you've got even a little faith, you come to Yeshua. Even your confession that you need him to help you increase your faith is itself an act of faith. To cry out to Yeshua, Lord, I'm filled with doubts, I'm filled with fears and unbelief, help me. That cry in and of itself is the first step toward belief. If you take your weaknesses to Yeshua, and you cling to him, and hold on to him, that is all you have to do. You don't have to have perfect faith. If I turn on the light switch and the light goes on, is it the power of the light switch that put on the lights? No. The light switch has no power in itself. The real power is electricity. The light switch connects me to the electricity. In the same way, your faith in and of itself has no power. It's what it connects to, Yeshua. He is the real and the only source of power. So don't be crushed under the thought you have to have this incredible faith before God will save you or hear you or heal you. No, all you must do is cling to him. Number 5, here's the last point. Yeshua says life-giving faith is based on you loving me for myself, Yeshua says, not for the benefits of the blessings I can give you. That's the whole point of verse 48. Yeshua says this in John 4:48. He says, unless you people see signs and wonders, you'll never believe. Yeshua rebukes them, saying, you only want the signs and the wonders. You're after the things that I can give you, but you're not after me. But real life-giving faith comes to love Yeshua for who he is in and of himself, not for the benefits you get. When you first fell in love with someone, for example, you often, even if it's only subconscious, even if you never admit it or articulate it this way, you often love them, at least in part, for the things they can give you. So, for example, you say, oh, I love how the way you look. But part of what that really means subconsciously is, I like the self-esteem I get when someone who looks as good as you pays attention to me and likes me. Or, I love that you're a hardworking person. Well, part of that might be you thinking, it'll be great to marry someone who has a successful career. In other words, in the beginning, what makes a person attractive are the things, in part at least, that benefit you. But in the end, if you go on, if you really love them, you've got to get past that. Amen? You've got to get to a place where you love them just for who they are, in and of themselves. You know, if you fall in love with someone and you suffer a financial reversal, and they drop you like a hot potato, don't you feel used? Don't you feel exploited? Don't you feel like, my God, they didn't love me. They just loved my money. And you'd be right. Now, don't you think Yeshua feels the same way? Wow. And so you've got to come to the place, instead of being up and down in your walk with him, based on whether or not he's hearing your prayers, the way you want him to hear them, and the time you want them answered, you've got to come to the place where you love him just for who he is. Just resting in him, finding him completely satisfying, completely fulfilling, just as he is in and of himself. How do you get there? Just like this royal official got there in John chapter 4. He took Yeshua at his word and he believed. He put his trust in Yeshua and his promises. Why? Because he knew Yeshua loved him. When he got home and saw his son alive, in essence what he said was, Yeshua didn't blow me off. He loved me enough to help me. He loved my family and he saved my son's life. I was afraid, but he did not ignore us. He loved us and he saved us. He believed in Yeshua because he realized Yeshua loved him. But you and I have way, way better evidence of Yeshua's love for us. It's the cross. It's the cross. Because as that man walked away, Yeshua may have said in his heart, you're not going to lose your son. I'm going to save your son because my Father is going to lose his son. You see, none of us deserve God's salvation. You don't. I certainly don't. None of us are living the lives we ought to live. We don't even live up to our own standards, let alone God's standards. We don't deserve his redemption. Why is it that this man didn't lose his son? Because Yeshua saved him. Okay, but why did Yeshua save him? Why did Yeshua save an undeserving family? That man didn't lose his son because on the cross, the Father lost his son. Do you see this man's agony? The Father's losing his little boy. That is agony. The great mystery is that on the cross, the Father and the Son deliberately lost each other. And they did that in order for Yeshua to bear the punishment that we deserve. So that Yeshua can answer this man's prayer and your prayer and my prayer and save us. Yeshua can save us because the Father did not save his Son on the cross. And when you see him doing this for you, this will enable you to start loving him just for who he is, not for what he gives you. So let's close with these 3 practical takeaways. Number 1, when you've got a problem, when you've got real suffering or real problems in your life, do what this man did. Simply go to Yeshua. Are you suffering? Do you have problems today? Go to Yeshua. Number 2, let Yeshua answer you on his terms. This man wanted this, that man wanted that. Yeshua didn't do it because he knows best. You've got suffering, go to Yeshua, but let him answer you on his terms. And number 3, when he answers you, when he comes through, and he will, maybe not on your terms, maybe not in your timing or in your way, but he will come through. When you sense and experience his power and his love, do what this man did. Tell your family about it and your friends. Tell your friends about it. Notice the text doesn't say that he alone believed, but his whole house believed. Why? Because he told them all about Yeshua and what Yeshua had done for him. Tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell your family what Yeshua has done for you. For how shall you escape if you neglect so great a salvation? Amen? Let's stand, and I'm going to call the music team up to play for us. Hallelujah. Let's pray. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. Let's all stand and pray. Father, Heavenly Father, thank you so much, Lord, for the gift of faith. We acknowledge, Lord, that it is a gift. We ask you that you not only give all of us, Lord, in this room, give everybody hearing this message, hearing my voice, Lord, give us all the gift of saving faith. But also, in addition, Lord, that you would also increase and strengthen our faith. Help us, Lord, to put our total trust in you and believe you for great things in our lives and in the lives of our family, the lives of our friends, and for everybody that we pray for, Lord. And when you don't answer right away, or answer in the way that we want, help us, Lord, not to grow weary, not to lose heart, not to accuse you of not caring. Increase our trust in your love and your goodness. Help us to love you, Yeshua, just for who you are, not for the things that we want from you. Help us to focus totally on you. Help us, Lord, to be lost in your love and not to be overcome, Lord, by the cares of this world, but to have an eternal perspective. Help us, Lord, to glorify you, Yeshua, in all that we do, because we pray this in your name, B'Shem Yeshua. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
For more information, visit us at www.etzheim.org. That's spelled EITZ-CHAIM.org. Or join us in Richardson, Texas for our weekly Shabbat services.